Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of Let's Get Ethereal. I am your host, Lauren O'Connell, aka the Modern Astrologer. And if you're intrigued with, like, why now, Lauren? What is this show about? Where did it come from? I did record a little episode before this that explains that if you're intrigued. This way, we can just jump right in. So, this is going to be my weekly show where I mainly talk about what's the energy going on in the sky, how can we move through it, practical tips, emotional support, but then also like what's going on currently, whether it's pop culture news or big celebrity moment. Let's pull up a chart, let's dabble. And I also want to make sure every episode I give a little like wisdom nugget. I'm sure as we keep doing these, I'll come up with cool little names about them. But through my 10 years of doing this, I've gained so much knowledge over systems and practices, and whether it's things that I've studied or workshops that I've hosted or life being thrown at me with grief and therapy. I'm like, every week I want to drop a little nugget, a little quick knowledge moment. And then, of course, I'll share if anything personal is coming up that would be relevant to everybody else. So, yeah, this is my weekly check in with you guys. And this week is perfect for the energy launch week, in my opinion. We just started February. It's the 2/2 portal today. We just had a full moon in Leo yesterday, which is the kickoff to eclipse season. And then also, since we're in a collective numerology of one, February is like a 3 month. So the three is all about sharing knowledge, communication, and I'm synced up with the collective energy. So I'm in a personal 1 year, so is the collective. So regardless of your numerology personal year, you get like kind of the energy of the collective one brushstroked into yours. And the one is all about new beginnings, fresh, clean 9 year slate. Okay, we wrapped one up, a whole 9 year cycle last year. Now we're in the one. The one is all about like try something new. Hopefully, you had some releasing, let go, patterns came up last year, uncomfortable let goes, or just like aha moments over what no longer is working, whether it's habits or people, things, jobs. It was time to really reassess and get clear about what you want to take into this year, 2026. And we just moved through January, but now February, I feel like this is when things really speed up because February is that 3 month, which is really curious. It's about communication. So it's a great month to learn new things, share your voice, get busy, get fun. It's like social. But we also have eclipses starting this month on the 17th. Then we have another one March 3rd. And the Chinese New Year shifts February 17th on the eclipse. So as those dates approach, we'll talk about it more each week. But just wanted to say out the gate, this February is when things will start to speed up, ramp up, particularly the second half. So I really wanted to make sure I launched this before all of that energy gets really loud. Eclipse season, just reminder, is when everyone typically is going through big shifts. Okay. And they can be very exciting. But when everybody's going through big shifts at once, sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. And it's like, where am I amongst this? What do I need? And so my goal with the show is always to support the individuals, a little less about the news and the chaos. This will not be a doom and gloom. This will always, if y'all know me, I'm a serial optimist. So I will always positive spin everything. I'll be real, and let's get ethereal, emphasis in real. I will always be real and give you like, advice and heads up of when not to like push forward and etc. But it's going to be positive and supportive. I've seen a lot of astrologers every year over my last 10 years saying how there's going to be a war and all this stuff. And I am not a clickbait. I'm not going to be a doom and gloom thing. So as things happen, we'll talk about it. It is certainly 2026, a year of major changes. And yes, that can come with intensity, but it is, what we can control is ourselves and how we adapt and move through our energy. It's very specific to us. So if you are meant to be somebody like championing and rallying and doing all of that, we need you. If that isn't your natural energy, what can you do? Take care of yourself. So we'll certainly talk about big things as they come up, but this is much more lighthearted. Think pop culture. I was tempted with like heated rivalry, even though that peak has settled. I'm like, Connor Story's chart is wild. It's so cool. But today we're gonna look at Catherine O'Hara's chart, RIP, and what's going on in fun ways. Certainly, I'm very intrigued to talk about the Epstein files. I think that's going to be a next week episode because of the Saturn and Neptune situation going on. So that's a little glimpse into episodes to come. But because I'm going to do this every single week, I want to make sure we're kind of honing in and not getting ahead of it. This is the first episode, so I am talking a little bit more of like the year ahead. I think that's important. But the advice for this year in general for everyone is try new things. You learn as you act this year. So it is a little less, I need to plan, I need to know, I need to control, I need to have it laid out before I take action. It's not this year. This year is like, I feel an urge, I feel a ping, I am excited or passionate about something. Please act, please take the first step, make the decision, have the conversation, press record. This is the year to do it. And then you will be revealed your next steps along the way. And it might be completely different than what you assumed. The other thing I'm feeling this first half of the year, particularly this month, so get going, is whatever you're pushing forward or starting or the decision you've made now will really impact future you. Think like August timeline, September timeline, whatever you're doing now, it's going to benefit you later. So there's a little less pressure now on what you're doing and creating, if that helps. Just get it going, you guys. And as we enter an eclipse season, we'll talk more about the specific energy each week. Next week, we have Saturn moving into Aries, for example. I'll talk about that. But this week, what's going on? We have a start to a new month. So the new numerology of February is a 3-month. So like I said, get curious, start lessons, start studying something, or if you're the one sharing knowledge, it's share your voice, share your story, share your knowledge. I also think of mediums, however you like to do that. It doesn't really matter whether you're writing, speaking, teaching, mentoring, guiding, videoing, whatever. Do something, okay? This is fun. It's also a reminder, like lightheartedness. The 3 is very childlike wonder. It's social, it's fun. Say yes more, okay? So this is the collective energy. Keep in mind your numerology personal year. Highly recommend knowing that. I do have recorded readings on my website. They're like 90 minutes each, specific to each personal year, if you're interested. Okay, so 2-2, also y'all might hear portal energy. I'm not a huge portal girl, but just think of like, I have noticed every portal I tend to, and other sensitive people tend to feel more sensitive or intuitive. So it's a good day to just pay attention to signs, synchronicities. Double 2, 2 is the sign of like self and others. It's that balance. So finding the balance. I would say other things astrologically, we have a lot clustered in Aquarius. We just had a full moon in the opposite sign of Leo. And Aquarius's ruler, Uranus, is going direct, which is the major story this week. So I want to share the chart. Let's see what's going on in the sky. So here's a chart of the sky right now. And as you can see, this is the sign of Aquarius. We've got Pluto, Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, all clustered together. That is, and like last month, everything was in Capricorn, okay, which is serious, a lot of pressure. January was just kind of like, I feel the need to get structured. I see the goals and the path ahead really clearly, but it felt a little like stressful maybe. Now we have everything in this Aries sign of Aquarius. It's very cerebral. My heads up this week is if you are a little in the head, a little anxious, a little overthinky, this makes sense. This is very future forward thinking, innovative ideas. Aquarius rules community and collaboration as well. So like share your ideas, find your people. It's Aquarius season. I always think it's funny that Valentine's Day falls in Aquarius season because Aquarius is not the sign you think of romance and love and passion and dating. We do see that in Leo, the opposite sign. But what I love about it is like Aquarius rules all your people. And so let that be a cute little note of like the romance in your life can be many things. It can be your pets, your friends, your family, all of that. So that's really loud. Who's your tribe? Who are you interacting with? This is a good week to take note of like, how's my energy when I hang out with certain people? Who do I feel like I can be my complete authentic self, not step on eggshells, etc. This is big this week. I love that Venus and Mercury are coming together. I think it's tomorrow, Tuesday. That's poetic to me. Venus is love, aesthetics, beauty, art. It's also money. But in this way, with Mercury, the planet of communication, logic, writing, speaking. So Venus brings a charm to Mercury. I think this is a really good writing week for people if you are interested in that. Or like I said, learning. Aquarius is just so smart, brilliant, knowledge consuming or putting it out, okay? They are both talking to Chiron in a beautiful sextile. So what I like about, here's this blue line, Chiron is the wounded healer. So I also think this week is a great week for healing conversations, or just like if you're thinking about internally, having those internal conversations within yourself, or say it out loud, say the thing, okay? It's going to be from the heart with Chiron involved. So I think this is really sweet and beautiful. As you can see, we'll talk about this next week. We have Saturn at 28 degrees of Pisces. It's about to move into Aries for the first time in like 30 years, okay? Wherever Saturn moves, it makes us get really serious there. Put in the work, time, energy, effort. Do it the hard way, do it the right way. I call Saturn the daddy of the sky. So it's like, we can't cut corners, you gotta do it well. So wherever Pisces is in your chart, applaud yourselves. You frickin' did the dang thing. I always say when Saturn's done with a sign or a house in your chart, you can look back at it and be like, I am so freaking solid there. And I earned it. I'm proud of myself. Okay. So we'll talk more about that next week. And then if you're a big astrologer consumer, you've probably heard a lot of people talking about these two getting together. It's very rare. And the fact that it's happening in Aries, the sign of self, intense fire sign energy, new beginnings. Yeah, we'll deep dive it next week, okay? I'm trying to keep it like, of course, I want to tell you about it right now. I'm also keeping these episodes very in the moment. I'm not going to edit them. I don't pre-plan much. I think that's the way I operate best. And just to be honest, I don't have the time to edit. I don't know how to. I don't have the equipment, the studio. So this can be scrappy, at least to start. And I'm giving myself 8 weeks, 8 shows in a row before I assess, like, is this still fun? Is this still exciting? Do people like it? Because it feels easy in flow. It's my natural abilities. It doesn't feel like homework, especially when I don't overplan and edit. Okay. All right. Anything else? Other stuff is happening next week. We had the full moon here in Leo. Now, as we're speaking, it's almost done with Leo. So later tonight, the moon is moving into Virgo. So Tuesday, Wednesday, part of Thursday, we're going to be very efficient. Those are days where it's really exciting to adults organize, clear out, write your lists, plan. We love a Virgo moon moment for like getting our shit together. Okay. So as you're probably listening to this, the moon is moving into Virgo. So the next 2.5 days, do it. Get it done. Let this be your little nudge. Okay. Then later in the week, as the moon moves into Libra, the energies are going to be around balance, romance, all of that. Of course, where are those signs in your birth chart? That's where you're going to feel it most. But this show isn't about that. Come to the moon events if you want more of like, how's it impacting you specifically? This is more generalized, okay? All right, the main story of the week. Uranus is going direct on the 4th, okay? We're talking here on the 2nd. Uranus is the planet of, forward change. When it's been retrograde since September 6th, okay? So Uranus going direct marks that shift of like internal restlessness because the planet of change, future orientation, like I call it the disruptor, the nervous system planet activator. So when it's retrograde, I always say the planets that are retrograde, it gets an internal version of those planets' themes. So just think that like there's been an internal restlessness to change something. Since September 6th, Uranus has been retrograde, and that urge of like freedom and movement has been building more quietly. So if you've been feeling frustrations or kind of sudden insights or the sense that something has to change without that plan being quite clear yet, or like it's just kind of this tension, this frustration of like, why isn't there anything new going on? As this planet stations, it's called stations direct, but as it begins to go out of retrograde to move forward, those kind of inner realizations and inner frustrations of getting that clear what needs to change starts to turn into external action. Okay. So Uranus going direct is saying, okay, we're no longer changing internally as much. We've done that. Good job. Now it turns on to external change. So if you're a listener that's been like, oh, I'm just ready for something new, like this is the time. Okay. So I would say the things that feel stuck start to move. Conversations can start happening. Decisions feel like harder to postpone is kind of the vibe. So again, this matches with the February 3 month. The eclipse is coming up. That full moon in Leo yesterday was about like wanting to shine your own passions and trying to get out of your head so much, Aquarius energy, and into the heart, Leo, of like, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Uranus happens to rule Aquarius. And the first eclipse in a couple weeks is in Aquarius, okay, 28 degrees. So I find it interesting that the planet that rules the eclipses is turning direct a week or two before, and this creates change. The eclipse in a couple weeks is also the first one in Aquarius. It happens before the North Node moves into Aquarius. So I call it the preview eclipse. It's kind of like the new beginning before, it's like the door opening. Are you going to step through it? And so I think there's going to be much more movement and change in our external worlds, not just internal. So I think the day that outer planets shift, we tend to see and feel it. Outer planets being Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay. I often call these the collective planets. They impact more of our collective at large, global. We see things in the news when these guys do big things, when they enter new signs, like Neptune entered Aries, big deal. It spends 14 years in a sign. Uranus spends 7 years in a sign. Okay. It's going to move into Gemini in a couple months. Everything's in new signs this year. We got a little taste of it last year, but then they retrograde back into their own like previous signs. So this is when things start to move. So yeah, I think when it's a collective planet, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, yes, we feel it as individuals for sure, but we tend to notice it more of like bigger themes instead of day to day. Okay. Whereas the moon moves so so quickly, it spends 2.5 days in a sign versus 14 years in a sign, Neptune, you see? So the things that move quicker are things that we feel more as an individual, okay? But Uranus, the day it moves direct on the 4th, it's like a concentration of that energy. You may notice the news or breakthroughs or turning points around the time of the shift. So think all week, okay? Because I always say it's not just on the 4th that this happens, it's the days surrounding it. So it's a signal, kind of like what's ready to shift. So this isn't about instant like resolution or huge shifts that everything's different. It's just the beginning of it maybe, or the green light, think of it that way. But the weeks to follow, that momentum will start to build and it starts to feel like the path forward is a little more clear, especially as we move into that eclipse on the 17th. So it amplifies themes of change, disruption, course correction, okay? And because, like I said, this is an outer planet, it's collective, I tend to see shifts like you can think of Uranus, think of shifts of systems, technology, money values, because it's in Taurus, and growing kind of intolerance to the things that have been outdated or restrictive, because Uranus is future forward, it's innovative, it's not of the past. And so it can be like, this is no longer working. We got to reinvent. We got to like, yeah, think of Uranus as definitely like technology, AI, all of that. Okay. So when it moves into Gemini in a couple months, it's going to really be inventing a lot of how we communicate, Gemini, how we connect. And my little year ahead glimpse of this one too, with Uranus moving into Gemini, is we're all going to be very inundated with even more technology and more of like disconnect. Uranus and Aquarius also rules connection people. So we're going to have to keep our connections to people. Okay. That's my big advice this year. And then let's see what's no longer can stay quiet. There might be a big news moment, or a release of something or change. I think these two coming together next week and the second week are adding to it. There's going to be a lot revealed. So what keeps demanding attention will be kind of uncapped. And then in your personal life, what do you need to pay attention to? What change is overdue? And so be open to unexpected solutions. Stay flexible. This is definitely a month, you guys, and a week of flexibility, change, hearing something and that changes something, a conversation, something you read, it can be big. So it's a moment to respond. Definitely don't resist. And Uranus rules honesty, adaptability, and the courage to move when something no longer fits. So I'm really excited about this. That's kind of our energy ahead. We can stop there, but hello, planet Uranus. Okay, what else? I would say the main current events that I wanted to share. I think it's fun to look at people's charts, anything big going on in the news. So I wanted to pull up Catherine O'Hara's chart. I just looked at it briefly. I'm going to share her chart on the screen. She was beloved by so many people. Here's her chart. We unfortunately don't have her time of birth, you guys. So we're not going to have houses, which is the other half of the story. That's why time of birth is so important. I tend to see, like when you Google, and how I find people's birth charts is you just say they're Catherine O'Hara birth chart, and every celebrity will have a birth chart. Typically on the, I've never saw somebody that it didn't at least have their birthday listed somewhere and then you can pull it. But it is rare to have the time of birth listed out in the public, okay? So just by looking at her chart and knowing that, I mean, she was not only one of my favorite people, she's one of many people's favorite actresses. She's so funny and beautiful and unique, right? And what I loved immediately out the gate, we have all of this energy in Pisces, okay? So she's not only like brilliant, witty, and talented and funny, she's emotionally expressive. She has this emotional attunement that is rare because Pisces is the old soul, okay? Pisces is the sign, it's the last sign of the zodiac. It makes me think of like the wisdom and emotional intelligence of all the signs combined. That's Pisces to me. It is very empathetic, very in tune to energy. Okay, think of Pisces as like the other side kind of too. I call Pisces the creative through like inspirational downloads, whereas Leo is also a creative sign, but it's more about like passion and creativity. Pisces is like, it's just embodied kind of. Definitely old soul, emotionally wise. And so she having her Venus, Sun, Moon, and Mercury all in Pisces, it's like she didn't perform emotion so much as translated it. She translated emotion, and she had this instinctive ability to feel emotional frequency in the room is my guess. Okay. This is like, I don't know the terms for acting. It's been a while. I was a theater major, but on the design side. And it's like whatever technique that it's like you can drop in and feel the emotions as part of acting style. I think she'd be fantastic at that. And I think that's why her characters feel larger than life, but never fake, right? Even though like she's had hilariously big characters, like wasn't there's just like an authenticity to it. Like it didn't feel fake. They were emotionally pretty nailing. And what I also love is the moon is conjunct Mercury. So moon, emotions, intuition, deepest, truest, authentic self, most important placement in the birth chart. Paired with Mercury, Mercury is how we communicate, speak, mimic, right? And so these being together points to somebody that like really understands feelings as language. Okay. She knew how to say what others felt but couldn't quite like articulate. She could like move through it. That's why her timing and like comedic timing is so excellent. It's this. Okay. Because Mercury is like fast and nails it. It's also both of them are trine, ease and flow to Saturn. So if this was just in Pisces, Pisces I always say can be a little like floaty, ethereal, not very grounded. But a trine, ease and flow to Saturn, the planet of hard work, responsibility, and effort. It's very grounded planet. It's very serious. So this brings in the serious like groundedness to her. So it's she was able to bring it down to earth, okay, instead of living La La Land. But that's why I think some of her characters were much more like over the top in a cool way, but still felt real. This placement. The other things I always love looking at people's north node and south node. So her north node is in Capricorn with Chiron. Okay. This is where she was meant to grow and go. This is her destiny placement. It's usually, it takes effort, leaps of faith. It's stepping into uncomfortable purpose, but like that's where you thrive. Okay. Always opposite the north node is the south node, even though the symbol isn't here. So the south node, I always love to hone in on. Where does this person come in to their life with a lot of experience, knowledge, natural abilities, and use that in order to get towards the north node? So Catherine O'Hara had a south node in Cancer, very close to Uranus. Okay. So a south node in Cancer means she came into this life with a lot of emotional intelligence. She is a natural at being a mother. We know she was a mother in her life. It was probably just like something she always wanted to be and thrived in and was great at. And then Cancer also rules like it's motherhood, it's ruled by the moon, family, etc. So this is the placement North Node in Capricorn. I always say working parent. So if you have that, it's like don't feel like you have to choose one. Okay. But her having South Node with Uranus, I'm like, ooh, she might have an eclectic family growing up, is my guess. Or it could be like somebody had to move a lot, or just like unique characters in the home. So I'm curious to know that. And then her destiny was about bringing her emotional intelligence and eclectic vibes and uniqueness. Uranus with South Node, this is a very unique person. Okay. Even though it's in the sign of traditions, values, and family. Okay. So that's her in a nutshell. She's like traditional, like family oriented, so sweet, kind, and caring, emotionally in tuned, but unique. Okay. And then she brings it to her career. Capricorn is work, responsibility, what you do out in the world, goals, aspirations. And so, even I would say probably being in the limelight maybe was a little uncomfortable for her. I don't know. Because North Node is you got to push out of your comfort zone. So she did the damn thing. She did her purpose. It's with Chiron. So she could be known for what she's overcome, wounded healer, or being just like really real and raw, okay, is part of it. It's like you're with Chiron involved in your destiny in the work placement. I always tell clients if they have this, it's like your destiny not only is to find your stamp in the world and your career and your goals, but with Chiron, it's personal. It's like you're kind of seen. It's a little raw. You're meant to like reveal, and that's celebrity in a nutshell too. It's like even if she didn't want to share her personal life, it's out there to be seen. So I think it's more about that. So I kind of love tuning into people's charts and seeing a little bit more about them. And the last thing I kind of like really love, Venus, the planet of love, beauty, art, aesthetics. It's also money, but in this case, in Pisces, it's more about like just love and beauty and art. It's trine, ease and flow. Uranus. Again, this is a big player in her chart. this means she's like unmistakably like has her own signature. This is originality and emotionally honest and strange in the best way is kind of how I would describe this. And uninterested in being ordinary. Why be ordinary when you can lead with authenticity? And with this, all this, water energy in her chart, there's nothing more pure and deep and in tuned than that. Okay. So rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara. I think she is one of the greatest, unique, just like moments in this world. And she lives on, right? That's why I love birth charts. It's like, it just reveals like what people have like naturally come into this life with and how they move through and how we view them versus who they are. And I think she was like deeply sensitive. Even if we didn't know that in the news, she was so in tuned, probably an emotional sponge. I would love to look at her human design. We need time of birth, but she was probably very open and absorbing and hopefully selective of who she went around her, and like people that felt like family and the people she loved, she really kept close, highly protective. Water signs are always like really protective of their people. So there's the chart of the pop culture, which leads me to my little lesson this week. I'm going to have a little lesson each week, and I figured since we looked at Catherine's birth chart, let's pull a birth chart. I just made an example chart. Okay, so this is a made-up human. But what I find the most important is to get to know your moon sign, okay? I have moon ritual workbooks. I do moon events every week or every other week for 5 years. I love the moon. I have the moon method, which is deep diving your patterns and like emotional stuff of your moon sign. And so I always tell people the moon in your birth chart is the most important placement. If you really learn it, understand it, what it needs, it's your deepest, truest self. It's like how you nurture, how you need to be nurtured. It holds all of your patterns from early childhood. And so if you deep dive your moon, the rest of your chart elevates. Because I always say your birth chart never changes, but you're always evolving, up leveling and changing. You're maturing. And that's through like every placement that you guys have in your birth chart has the highest potential and then the shadowy bits to it. Okay. So if you're noticing the shadow sides of your moon, what can you do to improve like nurturing yourself? That will elevate it. And astrology can be so complex. So I always like to say, if you're going to learn a couple things, start with the moon, okay? And you'll notice on a day-to-day level, just your life really improving if you tend to your emotions. It also rules intuition. And life gets really loud. And, there's opinions thrust at us, societal pressures, how we were raised, and learning to look outside of ourselves. But your moon will show you, how do you feel, what feels in flow for you, what's authentic, what it's just like emotional, the good stuff. We want to know it. Okay. So you can listen to yourself and trust yourself. So rant over about the moon. So for this person, and this, like, you'll pull up your birth chart. My favorite website, I always say, is astro-charts.com. Okay. You can create a free birth chart. You might have to do a profile. It's been so long. So I'm guessing you have to create a profile. Anywho, you pull your birth chart. You'll see here's the symbol of the moon. What I like about these charts is it just tells you the sign instead of the symbol, and everything's listed right here. So the second thing listed is always your moon. This person's moon, this made up person, is at 6 degrees Sagittarius. Okay. So the first thing you write down, moon in Sagittarius. Then you scroll all the way to the bottom. What house does your moon fall into is just as important as the sign, okay? So you look here and look to see, where's moon listed? Oh, here it is. Contains the moon, 7th house for this person. So then you write down, okay, I've got a 7th house moon. Then take it another step. Here's where all the aspects are listed. This is when astrology gets really complex, okay? I tend to see people like, oh, I know my sun, moon, rising, but it's just the sign that they know. The house, extremely important. And then the aspects to it, wildly important, you guys. This gives it so many other lenses. So you pull this up. Okay, we got a moon in Sag in the 7th house. And then any placement that has moon written, note this moon for this person, the moon is sextile the MC. Moon is sextile Venus. See any other moons listed? Moon is trine Jupiter. And then lastly, we have another one, moon opposite Mars. So I'd write all those down and then I'd research, what does that aspect mean? Okay. You could put it into AI, Google, if you don't like want to do a full reading, right? Or if you're just learning something new, this is where you can get like, this is where the aspects are like the patterns and how you operate. Attachment styles often are seen here. And I think it's really interesting. Okay. So the moon sign, the moon house, and the moon aspects, that's your little tip and trick from me this week. Stay tuned for whatever comes out of my mouth, knowledge base, like to come. I'm like thinking, like, oh, human design. Are you specific manifestor or non-specific? Quick little tips and tricks that you can take and use and research. I'm a highly curious person, so I always want to share knowledge that I loved learning. And there's been so many things over the past 10 years of doing this. And lastly, to wrap up the show, I always say if there's anything personal going on that will be relevant to share. And so this weekend I had like all last week, my physical body was shutting down, you guys. I am a highly sensitive human. It's always been the case ever since I lived with mold, black mold. And we're talking like the very serious bad kind. Not all mold is bad. I don't want everybody freaking out. Anyways, I lived there for many years with it. It caused a lot of health issues. I've moved through them, but the sensitivities have remained. So I'm somebody that gets extreme like hangovers. If I have just like one cocktail, I can't drink wine, I can't drink champagne, just like no. But I do love like celebrating or trying new restaurants and having a cocktail, etc. Well, I was just in Cabo for a bestie's 40th birthday. So flying always activates my body terribly. It's the altitude. Even though it caps it at like 6,000 or 7,000, if I'm correct or not, it flares everything up for me. And then you add being in the sun in the pool all day, and you add alcohol, and you add flying back home. I was hurting. And it took a few days to recover. And then all of a sudden, like I felt like I couldn't function. And I happened to have been going in for my yearly doctor appointment, blood work. And it came back that like 2 days later, she was like, everything's great. Like health is fantastic. It's set for your kidneys, very dangerous levels. She's like, were you extremely hungover, not hungover, extremely dehydrated when you came in, or did you work out? We need you to come back in, hydrate, and recheck because my creatine levels were really, really high. And I was like, oh, thank God, this makes sense. I was so tired and exhausted. So it just goes to show that I am somebody that's always taking supplements. I always drink basically water all day long, liquid IVs, electrolytes, always been in my repertoire. Ever since the mold though, guys, like I've never been able to feel like I'm hydrated. I always feel dehydrated. My skin is always dry. And the reason why I'm sharing this is like, yay, I got to understand why. I'm definitely dehydrated. That trip makes sense, right? Because the other options are like kidney failure and lupus. And I'm like, no, I clearly was dehydrated. Okay. So we're going to go get an IV bag. Of course, it costs money. But what I wanted to share about the story is we got to keep in mind the emotions that happen with our physical body. So I'm a big advocate of the 4 bodies. We have the emotional body, the spiritual body, the mental body, and the physical body. Okay. So the reason why I became obsessed with deep diving this is because my physical body always is screaming. Always something flares up when there's emotions creeping in. Okay. So there is like, of course, the medical side of things, which is not my expertise, but I go to doctors, I go to regular therapy, I take supplements and vitamins, and I'm on top of it. I've learned a lot through my mold experience of what supplements, etc. So it's not from lack of hydrating. it's not from lack of taking the right supplements. What's the emotional cause of kidney issues, I wondered, right? So this is a little tip and trick I like to share. This is a book that is savage. It calls your ass out on things. It's a little too intense. You don't have to have this book, but it's just my tool. I'm like, oh, let me look up kidneys. What does it say? Dehydration. What does it say? Because sometimes we can take all the supplements, we can fix the physical health, we can do all the right things, in quotes, like I do Pilates all the time. I literally drink water 24/7, electrolytes in it. I'm still having issues there. So why not look at the emotional causes of kidneys? So you guys could Google, you can AI, you can have a book like this. This one's called Messages from the Body. A healer recommended it to me. Funny enough, she brought up my kidneys years ago. And kidneys have to deal with fear. Okay. And, there's been, I think ever since my mom died, I'll just share with you guys of like, I am completely financially on my own. I don't have a company I work for. I work for myself, which is amazing. I love that. I don't have anybody to like fall back on. Okay. And so I felt like when my mom died, the security was gone. So I've had a lot of worries around security and money and, business and like, where is this going? And then I want to launch this because I'm like, oh my God, nothing feels like me. If you watched my intro of why I made this, I'm like, this is more me, this is more in flow, but it is a new thing. It's a new launch. It's scary regardless, right? So it makes sense. So I wanted to share messages from the body and just have you guys, if you're somebody out there listening that's like, I keep having this hip pain, or I keep getting an earache, or my tonsils always flare up, or I have a rash that when I realize when I'm stressed, it shows back up. I want you to just take a look at what are the emotions going on, maybe that are correlated to that. That's not the only reason. I really don't want people spiritually bypassing things. We're real humans with real medical things. Overemphasize that, okay? But just take a look at it, okay? There's such a connection, and I think because the North Node is in Pisces right now and the South Node is in Virgo, I always say those are the themes that are loudest for the collective when that transit is moving through. We have 7 more months of it. It's been going on since January of 2025. Pisces is the emotional, spiritual, think of energy exchange and mental health side of health. And Virgo, where the South Node is the physical side of health, what we eat, consume, our diet, our working out, our routine, and everything we do every day that we're responsible for. And we're all really good at diligently attacking those things of like, okay, maybe I need to eat something different, take a different supplement, try a new workout, go to the doctor. All of that is really important, Virgo. But a lot of times, what's connected is the other side of the coin, Pisces, the emotions, the energy, exhaustion, feeling out of alignment. Like for me, like anything on social media has felt so out of alignment. I talk about it in my intro video of why I'm doing this. And so it's just like, where does your energy flow? Where is it there a kink in the in the rod? And then the emotions that are unexpressed get trapped in our bodies. So that's what I wanted to leave you with, my little kidney story. I'm still so struggling. I was supposed to record this a couple days ago and have it launched and ready early this morning. And my kidney said, no, you ain't. No, you ain't, bitch. So here it is, a little later in the day, off the cuff, in the moment. And I have to like give the descriptions to Spotify and YouTube, which always holds me back. So I'm hoping each week this becomes more, I don't know if it's going to be more of a cadence, more of a rhythm, more of a thing that's more clear as I go. But I'm practicing what I preach and I'm just starting and we'll see. And nobody's watching in the beginning. So if you are listening to this, thanks. And it's my little wink to like, when you start new things, yes, it can feel cringe and scary. My kidneys were scared, even though logically I'm like, this is no big deal. My body's like, it's scary, okay? So honor that, honor your emotions, but just start, okay? Often it's like in the beginning, nobody's watching. Try, fail, learn, grow. So this is me trying, and we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna give it 8 weeks, 8 episodes, and then we'll see if it becomes just like easy no-brainer for me. So stay tuned. Everything will get a little more buttoned up, I promise. This is off the cuff a little bit and a little messy as I figure it out. But if I didn't just do it, I would have delayed. So next week, look forward to Saturn moving into Aries. What's that about? It's creeping up to Neptune. It's a big storyline. We'll touch on getting ready for eclipses, what to expect, and then anything that's playing out in the news. Let's chat about it. So thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Ethereal. It's definitely something that I will be showing things on screen and visual. I find those things important, but you certainly can just listen if you're more of a person that likes to walk and listen or cook, be about your day. So I totally get it. That's why I'm going to put this on Spotify. Lord help me if I can figure it out. All right. Bye, guys. Love you all.